participated in the Republic of Texas. So we're going to start off right now. If you look on the inside page, there are words to a song. And Jan Lindemann is a member of Gonzales chapter, and she is going to lead us as we sing this song, The Lone Star. It was written by a member of the chapter also, who happens to live in the Dallas area, so she's not here. But we have kind of taken it on as our theme song now. So, Jan?
Brave men and women from Tennessee and Missouri and the like. That was our warm-up.
Yeah, Mom, just do it a cappella. Come on.
Okay, let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Brave men and women from Tennessee and Missouri and the like came to Texas seeking land and a better life. They soon answered the call to arms as Jacinto and the Alamo. They wanted independence and they weren't about to let it go. Come on, boys, stand tall and proud. I know you're tired, don't give up now. The Lone Star stands for liberty. Let's form a line for victory. Santa Anna's army was approaching and they were cornered in Gonzales, they say. Sam said, burn the town down and let's live to fight another day. 1836, come and take, it was their battle cry. They found Santa Anna's men asleep and they knew that someday they might die. Chorus, come on boys, stand tall and proud. I know you're tired, don't give up now. The Lone Star stands for liberty. Let's form a line for victory. They carried a tattered piece of cloth with a single star in place. It went before the army as it held each soldier's face. They won our right to freedom, they didn't back down or back away. They fought and died for you and me, and Texas was born that day. Come on, boys, stand tall and proud. I know you're tired, don't give up now. The Lone Star stands for liberty.
Color guard, attention. Audience, please stand. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Color guard, reform. Color guard, post colors. Color guard, reform. Color guard, about face. Color guard, return to post. Color guard, halt. Color guard at ease. Audience at ease. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, boys. We will now have the invocation by Reverend Cheryl Humser, who is the Presbyterian Church of Christ. Presbyterian Church of Gonzales. I got Presbyterian in there.
Let's pray. Merciful and gracious God, as we gather here in this place today, words like courage and fortitude and liberty and freedom and pioneering spirit and gratitude come to mind. So we honor and lift up to you those forebears, men, women, and children who settled here, who fought bravely here, who envisioned a life of freedom and abundance and joy in this place for their precious families and descendants. And as we honor them today, help us to claim for ourselves and our community that which is good and just and right in this valuable inheritance we've been given. Help us to continue to live out their legacy, we pray. We want to be a part of a community that values courage and vision and freedom. A community in which barriers that divide us may crumble, in which bridges are built, in which truth is spoken in love, and the downtrodden are lifted up, and all people may live with dignity and be unafraid. So all praise and thanks be to you, Almighty God, for your holy and life-giving spirit, and for your glory which shines throughout the world. Bless us this day. Amen.
Amen.
I don't think any of us could fail to realize how blessed this country has been. The United States of America, the state of Texas, the Republic of Texas, and all of us. And so we thank you for that blessing that you gave us. Now we will have County Judge Pat Davis come forward with readings from the county.
Good afternoon, and welcome to historic downtown Gonzales, the birthplace of Texas and the first shot of independence, Texas independence. As county judge, I want to welcome you and everyone to the 63rd annual memorial service hosted by the Daughters of the Republic of Gonzales County chapter. Today we will be honoring Benjamin Duncan, a courageous Scottish Texan that was appointed by Sam Houston, who was instrumental in leading the families from Gonzales to safety during the runaway scrape. As county judge, I get to go to, and Judge Byrd can probably attest to this, go to different conferences and trainings around the state, and you have these judges or officials come up to you and they say, well, where are you from? I said, well, I'm from Gonzales. Well, where is that? And I'm thinking to myself, self. You know, I was like, I said, all right, so I'm going to politely explain this to him that, you know, I am from Gonzales. It's about 64 miles south of Austin, Texas. And I said, it's actually the birthplace of Texas. And I say that kind of in a joking response, and I like, you understand that if it wasn't for Gonzales, you probably wouldn't be an elected official now, and you wouldn't have a job. But after that, get a few laughs out of it on the educational conversation. But did you ever run into that, Judge Bird? It's like, where's Texas? I mean, the county wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Gonzales. So I want to thank the Daughters of the Republic of Texas for their continuing efforts of preserving, honoring, and educating everybody on the historical aspects of Texas history and Texas independence. So I want to thank each and every all of you for being here, and I want to thank you, and may God bless us all, and may also God bless this great state of Texas.
Now, what we've all been waiting for. Melanie Petru is a descendant of Benjamin Duncan, and she has researched his contributions to the Republic of Texas and to the city of Gonzales, and she will be sharing that with us now because we do not want to forget any of the men who participated in the Republic of Texas and the independence that was won here. Melanie?
Thank you. I have to give the credit to Kathleen. She does most of our research. She does our writing well too. Okay. Is that better? Okay, I can hear myself now. So this is about my great-great-great-grandfather, Benjamin Duncan. My name is Melanie Petru, and I'm a proud 7th generation Texan, and also 7th generation descendant of some of the first families to settle Gonzales, Texas. Today I'm going to tell you about one of them, Benjamin Duncan, my 3rd great-grandfather, who was Scottish and came to Gonzales as a single man sometime in the early 1800s. His land grant from the Mexican government is dated 1831, and this property is situated between the western forks of the Guadalupe and the San Marcos rivers in what is now Gonzales County. But Benjamin Duncan had been occupying this land for some years before. A man called Senor Don Jose Maria Salinas de Bar had been granted 4 leagues of land through a concession he had with the government. Evidently, Benjamin Duncan thought this was a prime piece of property for him and had bought a 1/4 league from Senor Salinas before the colonization of Green DeWitt. So Ben Duncan presented a letter from Senor Salinas asking that he, Ben Duncan, be allowed to take the 1/4 league of land. After all, he already had a settlement with cultivated fields and a peach orchard already on this land and was a lawful owner of the property. Jose Antonio Navarro, commissioned by the Supreme Government of the state of Coahuila and Texas, granted Ben Duncan the property. Duncan came to Gonzales as a single man, but he did not stay that way long. Elizabeth Oliver, Sarah Oliver's daughter and Francis Berry's stepdaughter, was married to a man named Felix Taylor. She and Felix were having problems between them, which still remain somewhat unclear, although he was accused of stealing some pigs. Her stepfather and Benjamin Duncan represented Elizabeth through the very first divorce in DeWitt's colony in 1833. Not something necessarily to be proud of. But Elizabeth's brother, John Oliver, and Nancy Curtis had been the first marriage in the colony in 1829. After the divorce settlement, she received land and all the stock marked with her own brand, as well as custody of the 3 children. Later, she and Benjamin Duncan were married. It was at first they were married by bond in 1835 and then by license in 1838. Through the years, Benjamin Duncan acquired a great deal of property, especially between the forks of the rivers. There were a multitude of documents and deeds in our Gonzales courthouse with which he was involved. Marriages, divorces, wills, land deeds, and other settlements. And he was highly successful on legal matters, even though he could neither read nor write. Benjamin operated a ferry on his property on the San Marcos River, about a mile above where it and the Guadalupe run together. His home was on this property, and the hill there is still called Duncan's Hill by the residents who have lived here in this area for a long time. This ferry was used by many who were traveling to the west towards Seguin or San Antonio. At the time when war with Mexico was imminent, settlers were getting restless. This is when the Mexican soldiers were sent to retrieve the cannon they had given Gonzales for protection. This is when the first shot of Texas independence was fired near Gonzales on October 2nd, 1835. This is also when determined citizens shouted, "Come and take it," and that little cannon became a famous symbol of defiance. Sam Houston began organizing his army, and he used Gonzales as his central hub. During the Battle of the Alamo, as Colonel Travis desperately sent word for help, the immortal 32 from Gonzales were the only brave men to go to the aid of the little band of soldiers within the walls of the old mission. Sam Houston and his army of relief were going to try to reach the valiant Travis at San Antonio in time, and they crossed the river on Duncan's ferry. But before this army of relief could even get down the road, Santa Anna had breached the walls of the Alamo and showed no quarter, ruthlessly killing everyone found. Mrs. Dickinson, whose husband had just been killed in the battle, was allowed to leave the horrific scene without harm, so that she could spread the word of the fearful story that Santa Anna was coming with his powerful army to murder every Texian in his path. Mrs. Dickinson came with her baby in her arms and was escorted by a servant. She made the painful trip from San Antonio toward Gonzales. It has been told that her first stop was at the Duncan home, where she relayed this tragic story. Sam Houston, upon hearing the news of the Alamo, returned with his army of relief and again crossed the river on Duncan's ferry to go back to the town of Gonzales. He believed that Santa Anna and the Mexican army would come through Gonzales to ravage and destroy the town, kill everyone, and steal whatever was left. So first, Houston prepared to destroy Duncan's ferry, which would give him easier access. So Benjamin Duncan begged Houston to give him time to get his family across the river. And he remarked, "Man, give me time to cross my family over before you destroy the boat. You see their condition." Mrs. Duncan was expecting their first child. Houston replied coldly, "Time waits on no man," and thereupon he destroyed the ferry. That afternoon, Benjamin Duncan prepared a raft and crossed the river with his family and came into the town of Gonzales. We can only imagine the panic, confusion, and terror as the town was being burned to the ground. The citizens were frantically gathering whatever they could of their belongings to begin their escape from the treacherous Mexican army. It seems that Houston burned everything in Gonzales but the whiskey. And many, including Houston, got drunk. The family story goes that Houston was lying under a big oak tree on Peach Creek on the Brockus place. Fall Nash, an old renegade who was a friend of Ben Duncan's, wanted to roll a big barrel of whiskey up against Houston, set it afire, and blow old Houston to hell and back. Ben Duncan would not let him do it, even though he probably wanted to.
and therefore he saved Sam Houston's life. General Houston placed Benjamin Duncan in charge of the movement of the women and children in the famous runaway scrape. Every available vehicle was pressed into service to join the retreat. It was an extremely frigid winter, and many did not have warm clothing or shoes to wear. The journey was exceedingly difficult, and the terrified travelers moved across frozen ground and freezing rivers. They were joined by people from other areas of Texas who were trying to escape as well. Duncan moved them as quickly and safely as possible to the final encampment near San Jacinto. The battle that gave Texas her liberty was fought swiftly and deftly on the 21st of April, 1836. Remember the Alamo. Remember Goliad. Amanda Duncan, Benjamin and Elizabeth Duncan's first child, was born on that battlefield on May the 12th, 1836. Because of the ferry incident, Benjamin Duncan would never permit his name to be signed to the roster of Sam Houston's army, though a personal request was made by General Houston himself some years after the battle. Benjamin Duncan returned to Gonzales with his little family and rebuilt the ferry, and once again it served an important purpose for travelers and visitors going to and from Gonzales. Benjamin and Elizabeth had 3 more children in addition to Amanda: Elizabeth, Benjamin, and Rebecca. However, Ben's wife Elizabeth died in 1844, leaving Benjamin with 4 children under the age of 10 to raise by himself. And from the listings on census records, he must have done just that. This great pioneer died 22 years after his wife in 1866, but left a lasting legacy for his family and for the future of this great state of Texas. God bless Gonzales. God bless Texas. Thank you. For the descendants of Benjamin Duncan, raise your hand or stand. We're not going to place the wreath right now, but if some of us could carry it to Texas Hero Square, we'd like to put it at the base of the statue that we, the daughters of DRT, did see to, and we need to have it there. Thank you.
From the Presbyterian Church of Gonzales.
If you're able, will you please stand for the benediction? Friends, may the Lord bless you and keep you, so that you in turn may be a blessing to others. May the Lord be kind and gracious to you, so that you in turn may be kind and gracious to others. May the Lord look upon you and all those whom you love with favor and grant you peace, so that you may be a channel of peace for the world. Amen.